Hello guys, welcome back to our Fanfic Hub channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got Harem with Bulma, Android 18, and Marcarita. Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Naruto had just seen Vegeta disappear from view and turn towards his friend, who wasn't looking good at all with the amount of broken bones that Goku had. He would definitely be in the hospital for months until he would get a senzu bean, which would speed up the process. For now though, he'd heal him until the others arrived. He was glad that Vegeta had left already, as he could sense the others were on their way here along with Kale, Caulifla, Gohan, and Krillin. Hold still Goku, I'm going to heal you the best I can, but you'll still need some extensive care, Naruto said, as his hands glowed green and started healing him, with Goku sighing in relief as he could feel the pain was less. Thanks Naruto. It's been a few years. Glad you were able to help us out against Vegeta. He was a tough one, but what happened with the two girls that were with him? He asked, wanting to know what happened to his fellow Scions. They should be with Bulma and the others. I knocked out one of them and I convinced the other to stop the fight. We will be getting company though from our friends, who should be getting here in about an hour or so, judging by the speed that they're going. He mused, but was looking forward to seeing them again. He also knew that Bulma would be concerned about him and would be checking on him for injuries, which was something he didn't mind in the slightest. Goku nodded and tried to give a thumbs up, but pain racked his body from just moving his arm a little. He settled with just the nod as Naruto continued to use medical ninjutsu on him to make the pain more bearable to heal some of the more extensive injuries. An hour later, Naruto had finished healing Goku to the point of no constant pains from moving his body, but he would still need to go to the hospital. They were just talking, when they heard what sounded like engines approaching them, getting them to look up when they saw a capsule plane that was pretty big that could hold everyone from how it looked. They were waving at it, hoping to get their attention, and to their joy, they appeared to have done so, when they saw it descending to them. It didn't take long for the ship to land, and when the ramp opened up, two blurs could be seen running out until they were both tackled, with one with Bulma, who was hugging him and checking him for injuries, and the other was Chi-Chi, who was doing the same to Goku. Oh Goku, are you okay? Where does it hurt? I was so worried about you when you fought that Scion. Chi-Chi said, as she continued fussing over her husband. Are you okay Naruto? You fought all of them and even got hurt. Is there anything wrong? Bulma asked, worried over her crush. We're fine Bulma. I'm not hurt. Matatabi is already healing me of what damage was done to me, but I can't say the same for Goku. I healed what I could, but he needs to go to the hospital for his recovery and his other injuries. Naruto answered with her nodding before she suddenly broke down crying at the loss of her friends. Naruto just held her as she cried into his chest. Off to the side, Caulifla and Kale were looking a little down, knowing that this was their fault for the death of their friends. Naruto noticed this immediately. It's not your fault. I know you didn't want to do this, but you had no choice in this, so don't blame yourselves. Alright? He asked, getting slow nods from them. Let's get Goku, Krillin, and Gohan to the hospital to get them checked out and see the extensive damage and what they'll need to recover, he suggested, as everyone agreed. What about Mr. Piccolo and the others? Shouldn't they get proper burials? Gohan asked. The others looked at each other, unsure about Piccolo, but agreed since he helped fight against them. An hour later, they had managed to find everyone except for Kaiotsu, who had blown himself up and got into preservation pods. They were now on their way to the hospital, thinking over what to do next. I've been thinking about something. I heard Vegeta and Nappa mention others that were like Kami and Piccolo. They called him a Namekian. Krillin said, getting their attention. Are you talking about planet Namek? Caulifla asked, cutting in the conversation. What's planet Namek? Bulma asked, having gotten her emotions under control. It's the planet where the Namekians live on, where they have their own set of Dragon Balls, if what I've heard is true. Kale said, a little timid with everyone looking at her, sliding closer to Caulifla. Wait, are you saying we can use theirs to bring back our friends? Bulma asked, excitedly hoping what she heard was true. Kale nodded at this, smiling a little at the chance to correct what had happened to them. This is wonderful. We can go to Namek and use their Dragon Balls to wish everyone back. Bulma nearly shouted. And we can bring back Mr. Piccolo too. Gohan said in excitement. Oh no 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 no. My baby isn't going anywhere as he has lots of studying to catch up on and he won't be training anymore, especially with him. Chi frowned, putting her thoughts out there. But mom, Gohan tried to defend, but was interrupted. No, but young man. I nearly lost you once and it worried me to no end. She said with a sigh, seeing the conviction in his eyes. I just have one question. Naruto interrupted everyone's celebration. Where is planet Namek? He asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. He turned to the two female scions. Do you know where it's at? He asked them. He was disappointed when they shook their heads. We were never told where it was by Vegeta, so all we could do was wait for him to tell us eventually if we ever were to conquer the planet. Caulifla said, getting sighs from everyone. Now hold on, I know someone who might be able to help us out. Goku said, getting curious looks from everyone. Who do you have in mind? Naruto asked, folding his arms across his chest. King Kai. He closed his eyes to concentrate. You hear all this, King Kai? We could use your help on this. Goku thought, but everyone could hear being telegraphed to everyone's mind. Do I know? Of course I know where it is, just give me a minute to find it. King Kai exclaimed, using his antennae to find the mentioned planet, having been listening in on the conversation. While King Kai is looking for it, why don't we get to know our new friends? Naruto suggested as everyone looked over at the two scions. Why? Why do all this for us? Why do you want to be friends with us? Kale asked unsurely. Because you both seem nice and could use some better friends than the Prince of Assholes. He said, getting laughs from Caulifla. I like you, Whiskers. How'd you get so strong, by the way? You're around our age, yet you managed to have amazing power. Caulifla stated. Training. Lots and lots of training. Been doing it since I was 4 or 5 years old. Are you interested in sparring? He asked with a smirk, which she gave one of her own. You bet. Now that we aren't enemies anymore, you got a woman? She asked, bluntly, making him laugh nervously, with everyone else looking either shocked at her question or, in Gohan's case, confused. No. He asked, more himself, but also found Caulifla and Kale to be quite something, especially Kale, who looked exotic. Now hold on one second. I've known him longer, and if anyone is going to be with him, it's gonna be me, or at least I'll be the head woman. She muttered that last part under her breath. Caulifla would have commented, but was interrupted by someone. I found it. I found planet Namek. King Kai shouted. You did? That's great. Goku said in relief. Where is it then? Gohan asked, anxious to learn about it, who seemed excited. The coordinates are KXY 30. He told everyone. Bulma froze upon hearing this and paled a little. Are you sure, King Kai? He nodded at her question. I need to check something then. She let go of Naruto and picked up her calculator and did some calculation, before she sighed in frustration. What's wrong? Naruto asked, seeing her downcast expression. I just did the calculations, and if we were to use our best ship to get there, it would take us thousands of years. She said, not noticing the grin on Caulifla's face. Why not look at our pods? It would take us maybe a month or so to get there with them. She suggested, getting looks from Bulma, who jumped at her and hugged. That's brilliant. Your pods would actually be the better option, since they're made for traveling in space. She yelled in excitement, unknowingly giving Naruto a show as their breasts were pushed together. You got a free show, Naruto, since they have interest in you, including the shy scion. Why don't you take them and show them who the real alpha is? Matatabi purred out. Matatabi, what the hell? He mentally screamed out at his partner. What? You know it's true, and besides, you'll need to repopulate the scion race, being one of the last males left. Why not start with these 3? She asked, feigning innocence. This isn't the elemental nations where CRA is inducted, unlike here, it doesn't exist. He argued back, making her chuckle. Just think about it, 3 sexy women. She said, ending the link, leaving him to his thoughts. She's going to drive me crazy with those thoughts. He thought to himself, unknowing that she heard that, and grinned, knowing that he would garner many women's attention, but had a feeling he would have a large family like he wanted. After coming back from his thoughts and conversation with a perverted cat, they continued to talk about using their pod's technology to make a ship of their own that would be bigger to allow more than one person to use. Not only that, but specific people had volunteered to go. A week had gone by since the battle ended, and a few things had happened since then, with Goku, Gohan, and Krillin being admitted to the hospital. Gohan and Krillin had minor injuries from when Naruto healed them a bit, but it was Goku who had the worst injuries, with having most of his bones broken, but Naruto was able to mend them and to ease the pain, but he would still be there the longest. Bulma and her father had spent that time examining the pods that Caulifla and Kale came in, and they were amazed at the technology that they had and how far advanced they were. It would take some time to understand it, but they were confident they could do it and have a new ship ready for them. Naruto had gotten to know Caulifla and Kale more and found them to be interesting, with finding Caulifla to be more blunt and not afraid to say what she's thinking, but Kale was more reserved and showed she was nervous in general around others. Not only that, but he also discovered that she didn't like to fight like Caulifla did. Caulifla would flirt with him and would do the same with Kale, pushing her towards Naruto too, making his jaw drop at the two wanting to get with him. Before anything could happen though, Bulma was upset that they were pulling moves on him, so to stake her claim on him, she marched over to him when she heard this and pulled him into a long and passionate kiss and quickly explained how she had feelings for him. He can remember how that went. Flashback. Naruto was at Capsule Corp training in his gravity chamber with Caulifla and Kale, sparring with the two of them. He was taking a break after training for the last several hours. He was minding his own business when out of nowhere Caulifla walked up to him with Kale trailing behind, slowly bringing his arm in between her breasts with Kale taking his other between hers, albeit a little reluctantly. You seem to be thinking about something if you're staring off into space there. What do you think? She asked, gesturing to her chest. Naruto started sputtering with an immense blush, not knowing what to say as he was embarrassed for being in this situation. He had liked what he was seeing though. Caulifla was laughing at his expression. She found it to be cute despite him being a warrior. It was at this time, Bulma walked in to check on Naruto. When she saw Naruto, Caulifla, and Kale's positions annoyed her. Hey, what do you think you're doing to him? She called out, annoyed at the situation. Oh, nothing, just letting him get a feel of once he becomes our mate. What's the problem? Caulifla asked innocently. Mate. Like hell he'll be your mate. Bulma yelled at the duo scions, who were grinning, while Caulifla was grinning and Kale was blushing up a storm. What are you gonna do about it, huh? She smirked in a knowing manner. Bulma seemed to not think about it as she marched up to him. She grabbed the collar of his shirt and slammed her lips against his, instantly slipping her tongue as he easily returned it and added his own, swapping spit between each other. After a few minutes, they pulled away for air with immense blushes on their faces. That is what I'll do. She smirked, but realized what she just did and looked at Naruto, but relaxed when she saw him smile at her. End flashback. They talked after that and started dating not long after. She also told Caulifla and Kale that if they're interested in him, they have her approval, which shocked him with his jaw dropping when he heard her say that. He didn't expect Bulma or any of the others to want to share, being how territorial he knew they could be, but he couldn't deny he had developed feelings for them, but more so for the scientist, having known her longer. Caulifla was bold and wasn't afraid to say what she thought was hot to him. Kale was more gentle and wasn't like Caulifla, but her opposite, which was cute in his opinion. Bulma was one who liked both to be treated gently and rough. He promised to take them on dates when they weren't busy getting the ship ready for Namek. Now we find everyone, including Goku, who had his whole body bandaged up. There was Bulma, Rashi, Chi-Chi, Gohan, Krillin, himself, Caulifla, and Kale. How long until the ship is ready so we can plan at Namek? Krillin asked. The ship is being worked on as we speak. It took some time to get it figured out, but we're looking to have everything done in 2 weeks. With Naruto's clones helping with the building process, it's going much faster than if it was just me and my dad. Bulma said, much to everyone's surprise that Naruto could create clones. Clones? Kale asked. Yeah. They're called shadow clones. They're really helpful with that regard along with studying, since anything the clone learns, when it dispels the original will learn. He said, with a shrug, when his sweat dropped seeing everyone, especially Chi-Chi, looked at him with wide eyes, and the wife of Goku was looking at him with stars in her eyes like she won the jackpot. Teach Gohan that technique, please. She demanded while shaking him non-stop, making him dizzy. Oh, okay. I'll try to teach him, but we'll see if he can or not. Because it'd be harder to do it with Ki, since I use something else aside from Ki for my clones. He stated, still getting out of his dizzy state. Another source? Isn't Ki something that everyone uses? Caulifla asked, raising her eyebrow, being confused. Are you not a scion then completely? Kale asked. I'm a scion, that much is true, but it's complicated. Anyway, the other energy source I can use is called chakra, which is the combination of my spiritual and physical energies which allow me to do things like the shadow clones or the fireball I used against you too. He explained, getting nods from them. That's right. You spat out a giant fireball at us during our fight. I've been wondering how you did that. Caulifla said, shocking everyone. You spat out a fireball? Bulma asked, but sighed remembering when he explained everything to her about his past. Yeah. I'll explain that another time, but for now we can talk about who's all going to Namek, since I don't want too big of a group going. Naruto said, getting as everyone agreed. I'm going since I'm helping build it and can repair it should anything happen during the trip. Bulma said, volunteering herself. I'm going too. I'm curious to see what the Namekians are like. That and someone needs to make sure that she'll be safe. He grinned, pulling her closer by the waist, which made her grin at him. Caulifla and Kale looked at each other, having a silent conversation before they also gave their answers. We're going too. We want to help you guys with this and help mend the damage we helped cause here. Kale said with conviction, making everyone smile at their sincereness. Not only that, but we can't let you two have all the fun now, can we? Caulifla grinned at the duo, smashing her fist into her palm. Everyone nodded and was great with the ones who volunteered, as it made them relax knowing they were strong and could get it done, but there was one person who was looking down at his hands in contemplation. Sweetie, are you alright? Do you have a stomach ache? Chi-Chi asked her son, who was gripping the sheets tightly as if he was trying to say something. Naruto could see the look in the kid's eyes and knew what he wanted to say, so he would let this play out if he'd be able to do it. I want to go with them too. He finally said, surprising everyone except for Naruto, who suspected something. You're kidding, right Gohan? You're still hurt, I mean, why do you want to go? Bulma asked, since Chi-Chi was still in shock. I want to go. I owe to Mr. Piccolo for saving my life when he took the attack instead of me. He answered, which knocked Chi-Chi out of her stupor. Absolutely not. I just got my baby boy back and now you want to leave me again by going off to another planet. I don't think so, young man. She shouted, not wanting to be gone without her son any longer than he already was. I need to do this, Mom. Piccolo saved my life and I want to be the one who helps bring him back. Please, Mom. He begged his mother, who had a look of conviction in his eyes still. No, I won't allow it. You're going to stay here and catch up your studies that you've missed the whole year. She shook her head frantically. Chi-Chi, I think you should let him go. He's really determined about this and it would mean the world to him if you supported this, and besides Naruto will be with him along with the others and I know he'll look after our son. Goku was smiling at his son's loyalty to his friend. Chi-Chi looked at Goku in surprise, not expecting him to be okay with this, but he did have some good points with Naruto there. He would no doubt be safe. After several minutes going over her thoughts, she relented with a sigh before she looked at her son with a serious expression. Okay, fine. I want you to promise me though that you will be safe and not do anything crazy, okay? We don't know what's out there and your father is right that Naruto can watch out for you, but I have two conditions for this, am I clear? She demanded with a stern tone. What are those conditions, Mom? Gohan asked nervously, hoping it wouldn't be anything too weird. I want you to study while you're gone, and with the clone technique that you'll be able to learn it would make things easier and make me feel better," she said, with her son nodding and looking at Naruto, who nodded back with a smile of his own. "I can do that, and the second one?" he asked less nervously now. "I want Krillin to go too, since I know him better than Naruto, Caulifla, and Kale. Despite me trusting Naruto, I don't know him as well," she said, with Krillin not expecting to be brought into the conversation, but could understand her reasoning. "We can make that work. 6 people is doable, as it wouldn't change our plans for the ship," Bulma commented. "I'll look after the little guy, no problem. So what's next until the ship is ready?" Krillin asked, now with everything planned out. "I'll be spending the next 2 weeks with Gohan here working on the shadow clone technique, so which means we'll be building up your reserves until they're at an acceptable level, because as it is now, you could make only 1 or 2 clones at most before you'd be exhausted, and we don't want that happening. Of course I don't want you making too many anyhow, just where you won't get as tired from making the clones," he explained, getting nods from everyone, but a question came to Goku's mind. "Hey Naruto, what would happen if someone used that technique without the proper energy reserves for it?" he asked, making everyone look at him, wondering why he'd ask something like that. Since it won't be from chakra when he'd use this technique and his ki, the consequences won't be the same as if someone like me did, but the person would die, since in my home planet people can't live without chakra in them, he explained, getting shocked looks from everyone. "But Gohan will be alright with using it, won't he?" Chi quickly asked, not wanting her son to die because of her wanting him to learn it. "No, he won't. He'd just be exhausted, which is why I said we'll be working on getting his reserves up, by doing different exercises that will help them get bigger. So, there's nothing to worry about," he assured her as she sighed in relief, knowing her son would be okay. "Alright, with that being said, we'll meet over at Kame House in 2 weeks," Bulma declared as everyone agreed with the location. As everyone was heading out, Caulifla and Kale approached Naruto, wanting answers now that they know he's from another planet instead of Earth. "So another planet, huh? When were you going to tell us about that, mister?" Caulifla narrowed her eyes at her mate, who was sweating from her intense stare. "Well, Bulma, some help?" he asked his girlfriend, who shook her head at him. "Nope, you started this, you need to finish this on your own." "Good luck, babe, but girls, don't be so hard on him," she told them, making him relax a little, but he still didn't feel entirely safe from their wrath, as Kale wasn't looking too happy either, but more curious about his home planet than annoyed like Caulifla was. "Well, what do you want to know about it? I haven't been there in years, so I don't know what it'd be like now, as I'm sure things would have changed by now," he said as they continued to stare at him. "What's the name of the planet, and can you tell me at least the main points? Is it like Earth?" Caulifla asked, wanting to know after thinking for a few minutes. "Well, it's divided up into 5 major villages, with the rest with minor villages being much smaller. The major villages are the 5 great villages, with the first one being Sunagakure, the land of wind, Kumogakure, the land of lightning, Iwagakure, the land of stone, Kirigakure, the land of water, and lastly Konohakagure, the land of fire, which was my home. Just like I mentioned, the people there use chakra, and they can learn to utilize it in the academy to become shinobi when they graduate. With each village," he explained quickly, not wanting to bore them. "Shinobi? That's their form of military, then, I take it?" she asked to see him nod. "Why are they named after elements?" Kale asked, being confused about that. "Well, every shinobi is more attuned with the element they were born in. Like if you were born in Kumo, then your element affinity would most likely be lightning, or in Konoha most shinobis tended to have affinities for fire," he said, making them give "oh" as their responses, catching on to what he was saying. "Are they strong? They must have strong fighters, right?" Caulifla asked, grinning at the prospect of fighting a shinobi. "I mean, yeah, but they won't be like us who can use ki, but there are many strong shinobis there you could fight against if you wanted to." He shrugged his shoulders, used to her desire to fight people. "Yes." She pumped her fist in the air. "We'll have to visit, so I can see for myself." She grinned in anticipation. Kale noticed him flinching at the thought, something that Caulifla didn't notice, but she did, and it only made her wonder what could have possibly happened to get him to react like that to merely visiting his old home. She would need to talk to him alone about it. Maybe. We'll have to see. Right now, we should worry about preparing for Namek. While I have a clone with Gohan, I can train with you too. He said, hoping to change the subject, and by the expression on Caulifla's face getting bigger it worked. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. She yelled as she started dragging him off, before her stomach along with his decided to make themselves known, making them blush in embarrassment with how hungry they must be. After we get something to eat, we can train afterwards. Kale giggled seeing their embarrassed blushes. Let's go eat. I'm hungry myself, she said as they nodded as they left the hospital. 2 weeks later, nothing much had happened in the 2 weeks for everyone except they were preparing for the trip to Namek. Bulma and her father had as predicted managed to finish the ship that could now fit up to 10 people. Bulma and Naruto went on some dates during that time, and they went to an expensive restaurant, Bulma's idea, and they had a great time. They talked about Naruto's family as he never talked about them in the past, but also talked about his different teachers that he had and how he did miss them. To say, she was pissed about how his supposed godfather would nearly ruin his family for a prophecy by putting his parents in an illusion that made them forget about him. He was able to calm her down, but it took some convincing to do and more dates which he had no problem with. Despite only dating for a few weeks with Bulma, they had known each other for much longer and so were more comfortable in being more intimate than with the others. One night they were at home after having gone out for dinner, they decided to settle down to watch a movie. They decided to take things to the next level. Flashback. Naruto and Bulma were in the living room watching a movie while they were cuddling. As the movie progressed, Bulma turned towards her boyfriend and kissed him on the lips, which was returned immediately. It didn't take long for tongues to come into play as they battled for dominance, but as usual Naruto won it. They pulled apart after a few minutes for air. You could see their cheeks were flushed, but smiling, and he had a huge grin on his face. What was that for? Not that I'm complaining, but it was unexpected, he said looking at her. I have something important to tell you. It's something I have been thinking about for the last couple of days and well. She trailed off nervously, biting her lip, making him look at her in worry. Is everything okay, babe? He asked worriedly, but to his relief she shook her head. I'm fine. I want you to take me now, she admitted through a blush on her cheeks that would match a tomato. This surprised him. They were planning on waiting before everything settled down for after their trip to Namek before they did it, but she must have become too impatient. Are you sure? He asked, wanting her to be sure about this. I am, she said with determination that he loved about her. End flashback. 2 weeks later, Naruto spent the 2 weeks teaching Gohan how to use the shadow clone technique with ki, as he had figured out how to do it, but he preferred to do it with chakra since it was easier for him to do it. After mastering it in 2 days, Naruto spent the rest of the time working him to the bone on different exercises that would drain his reserves and expand them. At first he could summon 3 clones, but by the end of the 2 weeks he could summon 6 before he was tired from it. And that was enough, as he only needed a few of them for his studies, as he could now focus on his training while the clones did the studying for him. Chi was so happy and thankful that she hugged him excitedly, but had nearly broken his back with how strong she was without even realizing it. Naruto got to know the bald monk a bit more and found him to be really funny and someone you could count on. He was looking forward to working with him. And lastly, his 2 female scion girlfriends. He had spent most of his time outside of going on dates with Bulma and hanging out with Krillin. He would be training with the 2. He pushed them beyond their limits, cursing his name and calling him a sadistic bastard. Well, Caulifla did anyway, while Kale would pout her cute face at him and grumble about him not getting any hugs from her and such, but they wanted to train, not have a good time. Speaking of their relationship, it had gotten better for the 3 of them. He and Caulifla had several makeout sessions that had nearly escalated to them having sex. It wouldn't be much longer until she'd want kids, as she had told how she had always wanted a family and their scion instincts were starting to get control of them. With Kale, she was wanting to take things slower as she was more timid than her surrogate sister. She wasn't a fan of going out on dates, so they spent the night watching some movies, which was nice, relaxing, and still romantic. He found out that she was more gentle when they'd do anything intimate such as kissing and loved to cuddle. Though it took some time for her to get comfortable enough, but it worked out. Now everyone was gathered at Kame House except they were missing the 5-year-old scion to see them off on their journey. So how are the girls treating you, Naruto? Krillin asked, wondering how his friend was handling 3 girlfriends. Hee. They're great and I love them, but between you and me they can be a little nuts. He whispered the last part to him, but was hit in the head by a toolbox. What the hell? How the hell do I feel any pain from that? I can tank ki blasts, yet a toolbox hurts me. He questioned himself. What did you say about us? Caulifla yelled, smirking as she gave Bulma a high five, making him groan from it. Kale was looking at them and chuckling, knowing that this is her life, but she wouldn't wish for it to be any different. Look, I think I see them. Rashi pointed at the air car that's approaching the island, making Naruto sigh in relief. Oh, thank God. He muttered under his breath. They watched as the car landed and were waiting for Gohan to come out, but were surprised to see him wearing something as if he was going to a private school or something similar to a uniform. It took everything Naruto had to not laugh at the poor kid, but sadly it wasn't the case for some of the others who didn't have the same self-control as he did. Ha ha ha. What the hell are you wearing, kid? We're not going to school. Caulifla laughed out loud as Kale was chuckling, but holding back on laughing outright. Oh, don't be so mean to him, I think he looks absolutely handsome. Chi gushed at her son's look. Dad thought I looked funny too. Gohan grumbled as he looked down at his clothing, remembering his dad laughing. Hey, it's no problem, kid. Now that everyone's here, we should get going. Right, Bulma dear? He asked, as he saw her nod at his question. Right. Let's go, everyone. She declared as everyone boarded the ship, leaving Chi, Ox King. And Rashi left. Be careful, son. Krillin, Naruto, you better protect my baby boy or there will be hell to pay, do you hear me? She screamed at them as they nodded frantically, not wanting to anger her. Everyone straps yourselves in, we're going to be taking off shortly and I don't want to hear any complaints about not being warned. Bulma said seriously in her tone. It didn't take long for everyone to find a seat. Once everyone was situated, Bulma started the ship and after running through things, they took off leaving the island and not long after were they in the atmosphere, which was bumpy for everyone except for Caulifla and Kale who were used to these things. Once they were out of the atmosphere, she unstrapped her seatbelt with the others following suit. Okay, so from this point on, it'll be smooth riding from here on out. So until then, why don't I show everyone around the ship? Naruto, can you watch the ship while I saw them around? She asked her boyfriend, who nodded affirmatively. She thanked him quickly as she led everyone else to give them the tour. Now that I have the time, let's see how this goes. He said to himself, as he went through familiar hand signs for a jutsu he hadn't used in years. Kochios no jutsu. He said, slamming his hand on the ground with a puff of smoke. Out of the smoke came a familiar-looking slug that was looking around, noticing she was in an unfamiliar room. Where am I? Katsuya asked, looking around confusedly. Hello, Katsuya-sama. It's been a long time. She heard a voice. Turning around, she saw someone that was unfamiliar to her. She hadn't seen this man before, as she would have remembered someone like this, especially the tail that she was seeing that was around his waist. Who are you? She asked, wanting to cut straight to the point. It's me. Naruto. He said timidly, not sure what to expect, but was surprised when she gasped and crawled closer to him, offering his arm. She slid on it till she got to his shoulder so she could get a better look at him. Naruto-kun. Is it really you? What happened to you? It's been a few years since anyone has heard from you, but how are you so different? She asked her summoner, who sighed. That's a long story. I'll do my best to explain everything and why I look this way and much older than I should. He told her, who nodded. He went on to explain how he was transported to a new planet like everyone was told. What they didn't know was that his appearance had changed to become something more than human. How he was turned into a scion, where he's been training with Guardian of Earth for the last 11 years, well 13 if you count the time he spent in the hyperbolic time chamber. And what he's been doing since he finished his training, with how he had fought some scions who were wanting to destroy the planet, but were stopped by him and his friends, and now they were heading to another planet to find some special orbs that can be used to bring back their friends. He left out seeing 3 women since he would get pummeled by his mother and godmother for being a pervert in their words. After he finished explaining everything, she just looked at him blankly for a minute before sighing. Naruto-kun, you sure have lived an interesting life on Earth. I'm happy that you're alright though, with everyone being worried about you and if you were safe. Your parents have missed you so much and are really sorry about everything and wanted to assure you that what they did wasn't their own doing. She said, but he smiled at her. I already know Katsuya. I was made aware of everything by Yami and Kami that it wasn't their fault and that it was all the perverts doing. I'm glad that they still care about me and love me. I miss everyone too. He said with her nodding. You said you've been living on Earth for 11 years, right? She asked, getting a nod from him. Naruto-kun. It's been 5 years for us since you disappeared. She revealed, getting a shocked look from him. 5 years? He yelled in shock at hearing the time difference for him and them being that different. Yes. It's shocking to hear that, I know, but it's true. She said with a nod. Wow. How's everyone else been? Kasumi, Narumi, Mikoto, Fugaku, Tsunade, Hiruzen, Shizune, everyone? He asked. I'm sorry to say, Naruto-kun, but Fugaku died 3 years ago when he tried to stop a coup that his clan was planning against the village. She told him solemnly, making his eyes go wide at the news. He was like an uncle or a second father to him when he was training him. How's Mikoto handling everything? Is she okay? Is my mom helping her with her loss? He asked her quickly, wanting to know what's come of his second mother figure and other godmother. She did. It wasn't easy for her to move on, but she did. She's the clan head until Itachi is ready. Everyone else has been fine. There were multiple survivors in the clan that were against the coup like Fugaku. She said, getting a sigh in relief from him. What would like me to do now? Do you want to let everyone know you're okay and that they don't need to worry about you? She asked. Yes, but don't tell them about my changes, as I want that to be a surprise if I ever visit them. I think it would be good to do that after we do what we came to do on Namek. Nothing more if you could, Katsuya. He asked, seeing her nod. He smiled at her as she disappeared in a puff of smoke, indicating she was gone. To think so much had changed in 5 years for them, but it was 11 for me. I'll be sure to visit everyone, especially you, Mikoto-chan. He said to himself when he felt a pair of arms wrap around his neck and 2 heads on his shoulders. He looked to reveal Bulma, Kale, and Caulifla. They had overheard a good part of the conversation and they were just as shocked to hear the time difference. Hey girls, I'm alright. How'd you guys like the ship? He asked them, seeing Caulifla grin at him. Oh, I'm going to love this place, and it's all thanks to my boyfriend and my harem sister for this. She grinned at him. I have a question though about that slug. What was it exactly? How did it get on the ship? Kale asked quietly and curiously. That was Katsuya, and she was the boss of the slugs that I signed a contract with to aid me in battle should I ever need it. She specializes in acid and healing. She, along with my godmother Tsunade and her apprentice Shizune Kato, taught me everything there was about medical ninjutsu. Maybe you'll get to meet them sometime. He said with a smile at that thought. I'm sure they're great people. I hope to meet them someday. Why did you summon her now of all times though? Bulma asked. Well, now that I had time to do it, since I've never had a moment to do it until now with all the training I did, schooling I was doing, and dealing with the scions until now, I have a little time. He explained, getting nods. Enough of that, we got some training to do, Naruto, so now we have the time, let's get to it. We have a month before we get to Namek and I don't want to waste any time doing it. Caulifla yelled out in excitement. Alright. Just remember you asked for it. He smirked. A month later. 1 month now had gone by since they left Earth and they were finally getting to planet Namek. The first thing that Gohan did was change clothes with ones that he had secretly packed without his mom knowing, which made him laugh at the kid's sneaky side. He wore the same outfit that Piccolo wore and explained how he wore it to honor him and how he respected him almost as much as his father. Not a lot was done with Naruto and the others, except he would train everyone except for Bulma, who was making sure the ship had no problems. He was pushing everyone more, so they could be prepared for anything that could happen. They had found out that the gravity machine that was installed could go up to 200 times Earth's normal gravity, but he only went to 60 with Gohan and Krillin since they were slow on getting used to each level, and Kale and Caulifla he managed to get 150 times, which was good given he didn't want them to just be used to it, but to be able to do anything with ease in that kind of gravity. They all had grown stronger over the month, but the two female scions had really grown in the 1 month. It was getting harder to spar with them as they were improving quickly. Every time they improved, he'd have to push out more power to push them. Bulma had installed robots that could shoot lasers at them, and Naruto had them dodging their attacks as he wanted to work on their reflexes and agility while under the gravity to make it harder for them. Of course, he hadn't forgotten to do his own training. He'd been training at 200 times the gravity. He wanted to shape his ki into different weapons, and so far he'd managed to do 2 weapons, finding the ability to do it unique as not many, if there were any, could do it with enough control. He also pushed his body to the limit as he decided to add seal weights to make it even more challenging for him, which he welcomed. He almost regretted it, because as soon as he activated them while under the gravity chamber's pressure, he nearly collapsed, but he loved the challenge. He also realized how his power level had increased a lot, but he didn't know how much since he hadn't used his full power in a long time. He didn't use it against Caulifla, Kale, or Nappa since he didn't need to. Now everyone was in their seats as Bulma had informed everyone that they were approaching Namek. Caulifla and Kale were wearing their usual clothes along with Krillin with his orange gi and Gohan with his clothes that resembled Piccolo's. Naruto's however had changed as he was wearing a black form-fitting short-sleeved shirt and black pants with black kung fu shoes and blue stockings. He also wears a flowing red vest with a long backside that is secured with a blue obi tied over it at his waist and blue armbands. Think Xeno Goku's outfit. Alright guys, strap yourselves in, we're about to enter the atmosphere, which will make it bumpy getting in. She said to them. It's been an interesting month, don't you think so guys? I've learned a lot from Naruto-sensei. Gohan said. True. It would be better if he wasn't a sadist. Krillin whispered to them, making them snicker with Naruto pouting having heard that. Hey! I'm not that bad. He shouted comically at him, making everyone laugh. It's not a bad thing. It just means you want us to be strong and can push us. Caulifla said, trying to cheer him up. He certainly never took it easy on us. He's still gentle though outside of training. He's such a teddy bear. Kale teased at the end. Kale of all people teased him. Think about that for a second. We're coming into the atmosphere now. Bulma yelled out. I don't want to die. We're all going to die. Krillin screamed, panicking from the rough entrance as the ship was shaking, but was shut up when Caulifla punched him in the face, knocking him out in his seat as she was getting annoyed with his constant yelling. They didn't have to wait long for the shaking to stop, making them sigh in relief knowing that the rest of the landing would go easier from this point on. They were able to land, and Naruto was looking forward to meeting the Namekians and hoped they would let them use their Dragon Balls. Alright, before we can leave the ship, I need to check to make sure it's breathable for us, or if we need to be careful if it'll be too dangerous for us to do. Bulma was explaining when she looked up to see only Naruto there, who was chuckling when he pointed to the window when they saw Gohan, Krillin, Caulifla, and Kale outside already. She was about to yell in frustration, when he silenced her with a kiss that she melted in and soon turned into a small make-out session. Not that I'm complaining, but what was that for? She asked breathlessly. To calm you down. You should have known they'd do something like this. That, and I need to have a reason to kiss my girlfriend? He asked, while smirking at her blushed face, but had a wide grin on her face. True. Alright, let's go meet with the others and we can get started on looking for the Dragon Balls. She said, leaving to follow the others with him doing the same. Okay, first we should put away the ship, so we don't risk damaging it. Naruto said as they all nodded and Gohan pushed the button changing it into its capsule and had Bulma hold onto it. Let's see. She was cut off by two people who approached them, but they weren't friendly looking. They had the same armor that Vegeta had, which instantly made them assume they were enemies. Look what we have here. Some tourists on this backwater planet. The first one mocked. Right, but look at those two. Aren't they the ones who were with Vegeta and Nappa? They must be the scions who Vegeta thought was gone. The second person pointed out. Well, what do we have here? Some traitors it seems like. Lord Frieza would love to have a word with you too. The first guy smirked evilly, making them sweat and fear at hearing the name Frieza, confusing Gohan and Krillin, but Bulma and Naruto were already aware of who that was. Now come with us, so we can. He was silenced when Naruto appeared in front of him holding his hand out in front of him. He didn't say anything as he blasted him with a ki blast, incinerating him instantly as the other guy watched in fear at seeing his friend killed with no difficulty. Naruto turned towards his opponent and disappeared. He looked around having no idea where he went until he felt something behind him, but it was too late as a ki blade came to life, stabbing him in the back, going through where his heart would be, killing him instantly. Well, this situation just went from bad to worse if Frieza is here, or at least his forces. Naruto stated with a frown. He must be here for the Dragon Balls. He must be wanting immortality like Vegeta does, so it'll be harder to get them from here on out. Any ideas? Caulifla asked, trying not to panic at having to deal with Frieza's army. Naruto and the others had managed to get to a small cave where they could hide from being seen and discovered by Frieza. Learning that he was here for the Dragon Balls to wish for immortality didn't sit well with anyone, especially Naruto, knowing the kind of damage that he could do with being immortal. What are we going to do now? With Frieza here, it'll make it damn near impossible to get them. Caulifla asked calmly, trying not to panic about the tyrant being here. We'll need to be more careful about how we go about this. If we rush in, it'll only be bad with us getting killed. Even if I went full power against him, I don't think I would stack up against him. What's the plea dash? Krillin was cut off when they all sensed a large amount of power that was coming towards them. Quick everyone, lower your power level now. Naruto ordered quietly, but sternly for everyone to notice how serious he was. They watched as several figures passed by them, with a few which lasted a couple of minutes until the coast was clear and they could all breathe normally again. Holy crap! Did you feel that, guys? Krillin yelled out in shock. I think everyone did, Baldy. Caulifla shouted with sweat pouring down her head, with Kale not doing much better. Naruto noticed they weren't calming down and were starting to hyperventilate, walked over to them and pulled them into a hug as they buried their faces in his chest as they slowly, but surely started calming down. After a few minutes, he pulled away and looked at them in worry. Is that better? He asked softly. Yeah. Kale said quietly, enjoying the warmth he gave her. I'm fine. No need to get so sweet with me, Whiskers. She waved him off. But it felt nice of him to worry about me. She thought to herself. Krillin, Gohan, you two alright? He asked, seeing them nod. He checked over at Bulma, who was looking concerned, but overall she was fine. Okay, we know that was Frieza and his men, but where were they heading? He asked. Did you guys see what some of them had in their arms? Gohan asked, when they all, but Bulma nodded. Yeah, they looked like the Dragon Balls, but were much bigger than the ones we had. They had 3 already and were heading somewhere. Krillin said, when he got an idea. Bulma, can you check with one of the radars to see if there's a Dragon Ball in that direction? He pointed where they were all heading towards. She nodded at what he was thinking about and did as asked. She was able to pick up the 3 that were collected already in one location. They seemed to be moving towards a 4th one, making her nervous. Guys, they are heading towards another Dragon Ball's location. She said nervously. Do you think they have a dragon radar too? Kale asked, hoping that wasn't the case. We don't know for sure, but we can't let them get another Dragon Ball, so here's what we're going to do. Me, Krillin, and Gohan will go to their location and scout them out. I can possibly hold my own against Frieza if push comes to shove, but I'd like to avoid fighting him for now. He said with them looking at him like he's gone insane. That doesn't sound like a good idea at all. Are you beeping insane? Bulma shouted, coming into the conversation. You'll get yourself killed that way. She yelled in anger on her face. I'll be fine, Bulma. It's only as a last result, but it won't come to it. I promise. He assured her as she stared at him, narrowed before sighing and smiling at him. Fine, but you better be safe and come back to me. She told him, who nodded with determination. What about us? Caulifla asked, wanting some action. Why don't you guys stay here for the time being and wait for us, since we'll have more information by then, that way we can make a decent plan. Naruto told her, which she grumbled under her breath, but nodded seeing the logic in his words. Fine, but we better get to fight soon. I'm itching for some payback on some people. She said with a smirk. He nodded and looked to the two as they nodded and they flew off towards where Frieza went. Bulma and the girls watched them leave as a worried look came across her face. Kale noticed this and put a hand on her shoulder. He'll be fine. You've known him much longer than us, so you should trust him to come back safely with the others. She said with a reassuring smile. Thank you, Kale. It's just this Frieza guy is crazy strong and much stronger than Vegeta. I'm worried that he'll be caught by him. Bulma said, worry on her face. Kale and Caulifla didn't know what to say to that, having seen Frieza's power firsthand knowing how powerful. All we can do is trust that our man will be okay, but I believe in him to come back to us. Or else he'll get his ass kicked by me. Caulifla yelled out, making them chuckle. Back with Naruto, Krillin, and Gohan, they had managed to take the radar and find where Frieza was, but they hid behind a ridge to avoid being caught. What they saw horrified them. Well, Gohan and Krillin, as Naruto being a former shinobi wasn't as much, but he was angry at seeing innocents being slaughtered. There were 3 people that caught their attention with the biggest power. They all wore the same armor, with the first one being a fat-looking pink guy that had a spiky head. The second person had green skin with a cape on his armor and had dark blue hair. The last person had his entire attention with the amount of power he was pulsing out, while not even trying. He was a short guy with 2 horns on his head and just sitting in his floating pod without a care in the world. Now that we've caught up to them, what do we do now? Krillin voiced the question. There are still some survivors and it would be good to save them. Gohan suggested with them nodding. But how? The bald man asked with unease. I can distract them while you get them out and get the Dragon Balls in the process. Naruto quickly said his plan as they nodded, albeit reluctantly since they couldn't think of a different plan. They continued to watch for when an opportunity arrived when they saw an older-looking Namekian come into view with 2 children hiding behind him. Things had just gotten worse as they saw some Namekian warriors come into view when they fought the rest of the cannon fodder of Frieza's soldiers, leaving just which would make Frieza and his 2 guards being the last 3 left. What no one expected was the elder to jump into the air and sent out ki beams from his fingertips to destroy the remaining scouters, except for the one on the blue-haired one's face that he figured out was how they were able to find the Dragon Balls. Okay, this will make it easier to sneak in with them being only 3 people and the loss of their scouters. They'll have no way to track us either. Naruto was impressed with the courage of the elder. But what about the Namekians? Gohan asked, wanting to help them. We'll get them out of there, kid. We just gotta wait for the right time to move. Just hold on for a bit longer. The Saiyan shinobi answered as he watched the 3 Namekian warriors get taken care of by the pink guy who set his sights back on the elder. I'll go in and get their attention, you 2 wait for the opportunity to take the balls. He ordered as he got up from his spot and disappeared from their view. The pink guy was about to go for the finishing blow, when Naruto appeared in front of him, catching his fist with ease. Why don't you try me on for size, Pinky? He asked with a smirk. And who the hell are you? He asked with glare at being called Pinky. Wow, you look even fatter up close. Not a fan of diets, I take it? He asked, further angering him. Frieza laughed at the insult. Well, what do we have here? Another protector of this elder? Frieza asked with clear sarcasm in his voice. Lord Frieza, that man is a scion. He has a tail like they all did. The blue-haired guard said, surprising the emperor. When he looked at his waist and did indeed see a tail there around his waist. And here I thought you all were dead except for Vegeta and the other three. Are you here for revenge for your monkey brethren? He asked with a cruel smile, hoping that Naruto would get angered and challenge him. Nah, but first let me deal with this tub of lard. Just give me a minute. Naruto said, pulling his arm towards him when he brought his arm up and went down with his elbow. Crunch. Aw. Dodoria screamed as he held his crushed arm, but wasn't given a chance to react, when Naruto grabbed the arm again, held his other hand out and incinerated the man, leaving nothing but the arm that he had grabbed. Now you're next, pretty boy. Naruto said, throwing the severed arm at their feet as he turned towards Frieza and Zarbon, with the latter being insulted by the comment and the former laughing at the jab at his subordinate. Pretty boy? Zarbon asked, a little upset about being called that. Oh ho ho. This man is quite the comedian. Frieza laughed at the jab. So, how many fangirls do you have, pretty boy? He asked mockingly, with Frieza laughing even harder at him. What? He sputtered at the question and glared at him. Oh, don't look at me like that. It was a question since you seem to be the type to have them. He said, shrugging his shoulders. Doesn't matter if I do or not. It's none of your concern. He dismissed it, still glaring at him. I think I touched a nerve there, ain't that right, pretty boy? Or am I to assume you swing the other way? He asked, against making him sputter, with a small blush making him nearly lose it and start laughing, but kept it under control. Oh God. I knew it. Naruto laughed out loud, enjoying messing with this guy. Stop laughing, you imbecile. Zarbon yelled in anger as it started getting the better of him. He shrugged his shoulders, not caring that he was yelling at him. You're not scaring me. Pretty boy. He said without a care. Enough. He dashed at him, with Naruto following suit. Zarbon threw several punches at him, but he was dodging them with a bored expression on his face. Seeing them angered him that much more when he started kicking him, but again they were being avoided. Naruto decided to end this when he pushed him back and brought his leg up and kicked him in the chin, sending him up, but that wasn't all, as he wasn't prepared for Naruto to be in front of him as he brought an elbow down on his head, crashing down to the ground. Is that all? He asked, boredly. Frieza was impressed with his skill, but knew there wasn't anything to worry about. The rubble exploding showed a slightly injured Zarbon, with some scuffs, bruises, but was mostly fine. He wasn't looking happy though at the moment. You! How dare you! He shouted as he was about to rush back in angrily. Zarbon! Frieza said, snapping him out of his anger, looking at him questioningly. You're letting him get in your head. You need to transform. He said, without a second thought. What? I don't need to use that grotesque form against this monkey. He tried to argue, but was shut up with a glare. It wasn't a suggestion, but an order. He told his subordinate, making him flinch, but did as told as he went through said transformation. In an instant muscles bulged and his face became more monstrous. Wow. You're one of the ugliest motherfuckers I've ever seen, and let me tell you, I've seen quite a few. He said with a grin. You're dead, bastard. He screamed out as he disappeared from view, surprising Gohan and Krillin, having not seen him move, but Naruto wasn't impressed with his speed. He reappeared behind him with his fist beeped back, but all he hit was empty air. He saw Naruto not far away. He charged again with a mixture of punches and kicks, but it was no use as Naruto continued to dodge him with ease, further annoying the man until he felt something hit him in the jaw, pushing him back when he saw Naruto with his fist extended. You know that's not bad power you're putting out there, but let me show you something more. He yelled out the last part as he started raising it. Hiya! He yelled out as the ground started shaking from the pressure, with his entire body being encased in a blue/silver aura. What? No, Zarbon yelled out as his scouter gave him a reading before it blew up on his face. No 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 no. No monkey can be this strong. Zarbon roared in anger/denial, finding it to be impossible. What was the reading it gave Zarbon? Frieza asked, more curious than anything. 80,000 my lord. He shouted in anger when turned back to Naruto, but a fist was encased in his stomach which caused him to spit out some blood as his eyes bulged out from the punch. And this is only a fraction of what I'm capable of. He whispered in his ear as he continued his attack, kicking him in the back, before disappearing and reappearing in front of him as he elbowed in the face. This continued for a couple of minutes as everyone watched Zarbon get tossed around like a pinball until Naruto used a heel kick knocking him to the ground that created a giant crater. Naruto nodded at his work when he noticed that Gohan and Krillin had gotten the Namekians to safety, but also had taken the Dragon Balls. Well, I think I've made my point and I've done what I needed to do, so I'll be seeing you two later. He said with a grin as he flew off, with Frieza not knowing what happened. What the hell just happened? He questioned himself until he looked around and noticed that the Namekians, but also his 4 Dragon Balls he had taken from them. That little monkey. He shouted as his power flared angrily at being outwitted by a mere monkey. Oh, he would make the bastard pay for making him. Lord Frieza look stupid. Naruto was away snickering to himself at how pissed off Frieza was, but he could feel the power that he was giving off. What do you think, Matatabi? Think we could take him if we went full power? He asked her. I'm not sure actually, it'll be a close call to make, but I wouldn't want to test our luck with him yet unless we have no choice. She answered with a frown at their uncertainty. Understood. Thanks sis. He said with a grin as their connection ended. Now let's see, they should be back at the cave now, so let's go see how they're all doing. He said to himself with a nod as he picked up the pace. He got back to the cave and saw the capsule house that Bulma had set up for them for the being. Are you guys here? He asked out loud, when Gohan came out with a sigh of relief. Oh good, it's you Mr. Naruto. We were wondering if something had happened and you didn't immediately follow us. He said. Thanks kid, and I'm alright, but I can't say the same for the other two, however, seeing how they're pissed off beyond anything after we just did. He laughed as they walked back inside to see Caulifla, Kale, Krillin, and Bulma talking to the 3 Namekians they saved. Oh good. Are you 3 alright? Do we need to check for injuries on any of you? Also you guys seem to be in a good mood. He asked, getting their attention. No, and thank you for saving our lives. My name is Muri and these 2 little ones are Dend and Cargo. He greeted, bowing at him with the other 2 doing the same. Naruto waved them off with a smile. I'm glad I could help and I got a laugh out of humiliating the pretty boy there too. It was a win-win for me. He laughed thinking about annoying Zarbon like he did. Pretty boy? Kale asked, raising her eyebrow. Zarbon. Was all he said. Caulifla was laughing knowing how true it was and loved how he seemed to get under his skin. That's great. I wish I could have been there to see that. She laughed, holding her side, wishing she could have been there. Kale was giggling, but had a thought come to her mind. And the reason we're happy is because I was able to get in contact with Rashi, who said that Goku was healed and was on his way here. He said that he'll be here in 5 days. Gohan said excitedly, looking forward to seeing his dad again. What happened to Dodoria? Kale asked, which got Caulifla to stop laughing as she also wondered the same thing. Oh, he won't be much of a problem anymore, since there isn't much left of him. He answered with a feral grin which made Caulifla grin, liking this side of him. It made him that much more desirable to her. Oh, and what did you do to him, my man? She grinned seductively. Blew him to ash and threw the arm at Frieza's pod. He said as she laughed harder, imagining that. Oh god, that's great. She yelled, enjoying her boyfriend doing this to them. She quickly grabbed his shirt and pulled him into the bedroom, getting curious looks from Gohan while Krillin was paling, knowing what was happening. What are they doing? Gohan asked, confused at what was going on. Don't worry about it. We'll tell you about it never. He quickly dismissed it, not wanting to deal with an angry Chi-Chi when they returned to Earth. His jaw dropped when he saw Bulma and Kale following them into the bedroom. When he saw the door close, it glowed blue for a second before it ended. Elder, what just happened? Dend asked, confused like Gohan was. I have absolutely no idea. He said, but looked at Krillin and Gohan wanting to discuss things with them since their friends were occupied. I will never get over how much of a beast you are in bed, love. Bulma smiled tiredly, but oh so satisfied with how he handled them. Damn, if I would have known that sex with you was going to be like this I would have done this weeks ago. Caulifla said, clearly loving how rough he was with her, but there was love in his eyes as he went at her. Kale didn't say anything as she was unconscious, but had a wide smile on her face and was mumbling incoherent words that he couldn't understand. Glad I could help. He grinned at his girlfriends, but noticed Bulma was looking a little green and trying to get up. Are you okay, Bulma? He asked, growing concerned about seeing her state. I'm fine. Can you get me to the bathroom though? I don't feel so good. She told him as he complied and took her to the bathroom. You can go back to bed. I'll tell you when I'm done here. She assured him with a smile before she started vomiting with Naruto growing worried about her since it was rare for her to get sick. I'll go get you some water, okay? He told her, but all she got was some vomit sound coming from her. He created a shadow clone to go do that as he went back to bed and brought his other two girlfriends to cuddle with them. How do you feel, Caulifla? He grinned in satisfaction when she gave him a mock glare. I can't feel my legs, asshole. She said in what seemed like an annoyed tone, but there was a playful gleam in her eyes. But it was so worth it if I said so myself. He smirked when he snaked his hand down to her ass and groped it, getting her to moan at the sensation when he all of a sudden got up, leaving a hot and bothered, making her blink in confusion when she saw the innocent look he was giving her, walking away as she looked at him disbelief. He just walked away after doing that to me? She asked in disbelief in her voice. A few minutes later, he came back in with Caulifla still in bed glaring at him when she saw him walk in. Kale was awake, but looked confused about why Caulifla was glaring at him. Bulma was in bed too, looking a little better, but still looked sick. I brought some food. Figured you might be hungry and I brought some drinks. He said with a small smile, but it didn't help with the glare still on him, but it was now more playful than serious. About time you got back, Whiskers, I'm starving. Caulifla yelled, taking the tray from his hands so they could eat while Naruto went over to Bulma. You okay, babe? It's not like you to get sick like this. He commented with worry clearly in his tone. Bulma smiled at his caring nature. I'm alright, Naruto. It's just a stomach bug. I must have eaten something bad, but I will be alright. That food though looks really good. She said, eyeing the food like a prey. Why don't you three eat while I go talk to the others and find out what's been going on since we disappeared? He said as they nodded, wanting to eat more than anything else. Naruto walked out to find that no one was here except for himself and the girls. He wondered where everyone went when he saw a note on the counter. Hey Naruto, we're letting you know that we've come up with a plan. Gohan noticed a Dragon Ball and went off to find it, so no one else could get their hands on it. Den told us about their leader Guru who we were told could help us, so we decided to go with this as a plan. If you get this, wait for us to come back, hopefully with good news. Also, we sense that Vegeta is on the planet, so we have more people to worry about. Krillin, P.S. I'm so jealous of you, man. You need to help me get a girl when we get back to Earth. He finished reading the letter having multiple thoughts running through his head. Vegeta was here, which wasn't a big problem for him since he could handle him, but their plan was what caught his attention. He would need to talk to Krillin next time he saw him. He went back to the bedroom to tell them about the note and the new information from the note with a frown on his face, which was something the girls noticed. What's wrong, Naruto? Kale asked. Well, apparently in the couple hours we were gone, a few things have happened. Vegeta is on the planet now and he's here for the same thing that Frieza is. Gohan left to go get a Dragon Ball they discovered on its own, and Krillin left with the Namekians to go speak with the Grand Elder, so basically the leaders of the Namekians. He summarized, getting reactions from them. Caulifla and Kale were sweating at the news of Vegeta being here, but were more confident after training with Naruto for the past couple of months. Bulma however was freaking out, and it didn't help that she felt like throwing up again, so he helped her to the bathroom. What now? Caulifla asked, wanting to know what their next move would be. You three recover while we wait to hear back from someone since Gohan and Krillin can contact me telepathically. As soon as I hear about one of them I'm going after them. He said, getting a nod from Bulma who had poked her head out. Oh hell no. I'm going too. You're not going to have all the fun. Caulifla yelled with a grin on her face, wanting to fight someone, but before she could take 2 steps she fell to the ground and started grumbling about bastard boyfriend who's too good in bed, which made everyone chuckle at her antics. Take this time to heal us so we can be prepared for when we know what the plan is, she said. A day later, Naruto was with the girls as they were sleeping when he felt someone's key signature spike up. He recognized it immediately as Gohan's, knowing he was in trouble, so he created a shadow clone and switched places with it, before he got his clothes and flew off towards the kid. It was easy to find Gohan since Vegeta wasn't trying to hide his key signature, and it was higher than before, knowing that he had gotten a Zenkai boost from his defeat on Earth. He could feel Gohan's energy getting lower, which wasn't good, so he went faster until he managed to get there in time to see Vegeta hovering over him. He jumped down with a punch that Vegeta saw coming on the corner of his eye and jumped away to avoid it, leaving Naruto in front of Gohan protectively. Well, look who we have here. The bastard that cut off my tail. Vegeta nearly screamed. Yeah. Well, I didn't have many options left. Though, are you still mad about that? It was a long time ago. Naruto waved off nonchalantly. That tail was a part of me and it'll never grow back now. He growled, before taking deep breaths to calm himself. I owe you payback for what you and that two-tailed bitch of a cat did to me, but I'm currently doing something more important right now, he said. That bitch. You can't call me something like that and get away with it. Naruto-kun, let me out now, so I can show this dumbass just who he's messing with. Madatabi shouted angrily at the prince, wanting to tear him apart with her claws. He ignored her, rambling to focus on Vegeta, before looking at Gohan. Go kid. I got little princess here. He gestured to Vegeta, who was fuming at the insult. Gohan nodded at this, trying not to laugh as he took off with the Dragon Ball he had taken earlier. Wait, that brat has a Dragon Ball. Vegeta was fuming now, seeing that he had it all this time. Now, what are you going to do, Vegeta? You're down a ball and can't beat me. What's your choice? He didn't have to wait long as Vegeta charged at him with a series of punches, but none were connecting with their targets since he was blocking them all with ease. Is that all? He asked boredly, further pissing off the prince. I am the prince of all Saiyans. I will not be mocked like this. He shouted as he continued his assault. He's gotten stronger all right. Impressive. Naruto thought to himself. Naruto decided to fight back when he started throwing his own punches and kicks, with Vegeta blocking the first one, feeling a wince from it, but dodged the rest to avoid damage. You've gotten stronger, Vegeta, I can say that much, he said with a shrug as they separated from each other. Of course I have. Aside from Frieza, I'm the strongest thing on this planet, he yelled in pride of his strength. Are you sure about that? He charged and was about halfway to him, when he stopped as he and Vegeta looked up, sensing something coming towards the planet. Naruto noticed that the prince was sweating a little, raising an eyebrow, wondering what's got him so worried. I take it you know what's coming by how worried you look, he asked curiously. I know them. That bastard Frieza called in the Ginyu Force along with his second in command, who happens to be much stronger than them, he answered. Now this caught his attention. And who is this person stronger than them? He wondered, wanting to know who is above his elite fighting unit. I wouldn't know, this would be the first time I'd see them, but the Ginyu Force should be our focus for now, he said. So, what does that mean for us now? He asked. Don't make me say it, Vegeta said, not wanting to do what the no-name Saiyan wanted to hear. I have no idea what you're talking about, he said, tilting his head to the side, trying not to outright laugh. I need your help, he admitted with gritted teeth, making him smirk, before he gave a serious expression. We need to hurry and get the others if we're going to fight them. You and I might be able to handle them all, but it'd be better to have extra help, he said, with Vegeta begrudgingly agreeing. Let's go. he said as they flew off at high speeds heading towards where Vegeta had the other Dragon Balls at. Meanwhile Naruto was contacting Bulma telepathically. Bulma, are you there? He asked. Naruto. Where are you? Gohan arrived here and told us that you were fighting Vegeta and now they've all sensed a group of people arriving on the planet. What's going on? She demanded. It's a lot to explain, but basically Frieza's elite fighting force is coming. Me and Vegeta have agreed to work together against them. We'll need everyone to meet us at this location with the other Dragon Balls before they show up except for you since it'll be too dangerous. He said with no room to argue, something that Bulma noticed and was worried since he wasn't like this very often. Alright. I'll let them know. Be careful sweetheart and good luck. She said, ending the link to tell the others of the plan. They arrived at where Vegeta kept all the Dragon Balls that he had taken with the others arriving not long after. So who's on their way that's got everyone so nervous? Judging by the power level they're huge. Krillin said unease clearly in his voice. The Ginyu Force along with Frieza's second in command. Vegeta said, getting the expected reactions from Caulifla and Kale who were sweating a lot with Kale slightly shaking, not looking forward to seeing them again. From what Vegeta tells me, no one had met his second in command, so I assume that she whoever it is won't show up and let the Ginyu Force handle us. Naruto summed up with a nod at accepting the answer. What now? Gohan asked, wanting to know what the plan was. We hide the balls from them before they get here. Vegeta was cut off at the arrival of 5 figures that was making him along with everyone except Naruto look uneasy. They all looked different, but had the same armor signaling that they're from Frieza's army, but had a symbol on their pecs indicating they're part of a special forces of sorts. So, this is the Ginyu Force? What about the other person? Naruto asked, not impressed with what he was seeing. Yes they are and they're as strong as I am and perhaps even stronger than me. Vegeta said seriously. Naruto saw them doing poses for their introduction, yelling out their names making Naruto start to pale having a flashback at a familiar-looking green beast who would do something similar shouting about youth. He instantly started shooting ki blasts at them, stopping their introduction. They glared at Naruto who glared back at them, while hearing him mumble about not again, this universe doesn't need more springtime of youth making his girlfriends and friends sweat drop not knowing what he was talking about. What the hell Naruto? Caulifla wondered, seeing her boyfriend act like this. Oi what the hell do you think you're doing interrupting our introduction monkey? The red-skinned one asked. Just introduce yourselves normally. He said flatly, not wanting to deal with that again, shivering from the memory of having met Might Guy on occasion. Ginyu. Jeez. Berter. Guldo. Rakum. And we are the Ginyu Force. They said in unison with their group pose. Well, this is going to be annoying. Naruto sighed as he was regretting this already. The two groups stared across from each other with Vegeta, Kale and Caulifla being the most tense knowing how powerful the Ginyu Force is when they saw them. Hello. Vegeta, it seems you've decided to betray Lord Frieza after all this time along with the others. Even tried to steal the Dragon Balls from him. Jeez cut in knowingly with a smirk seeing the man grit his teeth. Guldo if you could please. Ginyu said to the green alien who nodded with a smirk when he used his powers to take all of them, surprising everyone as Naruto narrowed his eyes at what just happened. Got him Captain. He said smugly, seeing the surprise on all of them. How'd that happen? Krillin asked, not knowing what had happened. Now that we have all the Dragon Balls, I'll be taking these to Lord Frieza now. I'll leave the rest to you and have fun. Ginyu said as he started levitating, but Naruto flew in front of him to stop him. You're not going anywhere without getting by me first. Naruto stated seriously having no intention of letting them get away with taking the Dragon Balls. Naruto. We're going to need your help with the rest of the Ginyu Force since they're tough bastards. Caulifla called out, making him look at her with a raised eyebrow, before he looked over at Ginyu who now held a smirk on his face. What are you going to do now monkey? Try to stop me or help your friends with my squad? He asked with the same expression on his face, making him growl before he descended back down to the others leaving Ginyu to fly off. What now? He questioned Vegeta, wanting to know what they are capable of, when he saw something odd. What the hell are they doing? He asked flatly. I think they're playing rock paper scissors to decide who fights who. Gohan said with a nervous chuckle, seeing this strange group playing a game like that. We don't have time for this. We should just take them out now. Naruto said, but felt two hands grab his wrists. Turning around he saw Caulifla and Kale shaking their heads at him. That wouldn't be smart to do. You don't know what they can do, so for now we should play their game and take them out one at a time. Caulifla said, for once serious instead of wanting to fight. Ha! I got Vegeta. Raccoon pumped his fist in the air with a grin on his face. And I got the two Scion women. G said as he smirked at them, with Berter smirking at Naruto, who narrowed his eyes at him. And I get to fight the two brats. Guldo pouted, wanting to fight one of the Scions. I'm an adult. Krillin shouted, at least you're taller than little fatty there. He looks like he should be on a diet. He smirked seeing him fume at him. Vegeta was trying not to laugh outright since he often teased him as well. I should kill you after I deal with the brats. Guldo grumbled, trying to rein in his anger. Who gets the other monkey? Jeese asked, wanting to know since he'll be left. I'll take him after you guys fight. Judging by their power levels it won't take long. Berter told him, who nodded. Any suggestions for them, Vegeta? Naruto asked his fellow Scion. Keep your guard up at all times, he can use telekinesis along with his ability to stop time. He told them, who nodded. Gohan and Krillin went full power immediately, not wanting to take any chances, surprising everyone except for Naruto, who was aware of Gohan's potential, and since he trained him too, he should be able to hold his own along with Krillin. They were doing well, keeping him on his toes and not giving him a chance to do much, forcing him to hide and try to catch his breath. Gohan brought his hands up to his forehead, putting his hands together, gathering ki for an attack. Krillin was doing the same as he cupped his hands in the familiar technique Goku used. Masenko Ha! Gohan shouted, Kamehameha! Krillin shouted. They sent out their attacks, further making Guldo jump away as he was getting tired and wouldn't be able to use his time stop technique. What the hell are these two made of? He asked himself, when he saw them approaching him at fast speeds, but had a smirk on his face with a plan coming to his mind. As soon as they got close enough, Guldo put his hands up in a weird pose before he shouted as a large amount of pressure assaulted them, stopping them in place, leaving them wide open for anything to do. Now you're at my mercy. There's nothing you can do to get out of this. As long as you're stuck like this, you'll never be able to get out. He smugly said, with Naruto looking at Vegeta, who nodded. As Guldo pulled out a tree and had it sharpened ready to pierce them, when all of a sudden, his head rolled off his shoulders, falling on the ground. How could you? This was supposed to be between me and them. He asked, feeling cheated out of his win. And I will never let my friends die if I can help it, so like hell I'll sit back and do nothing. See ya, fatty. He blasted the head, destroying it completely, leaving nothing left. Thanks for the save, Naruto. I was thinking I was going to die again there. Krillin sighed, feeling better now. Now who's next? He asked, itching to fight one of them when Vegeta stepped forward with Raccoon doing the same. That answers that question. Caulifla said. Why don't we speed things up? Jeese asked as they stepped up, with the two Scion women looked unsure, but a smile from their boyfriend gave them confidence as they followed suit. The fight between Vegeta and Raccoon goes as canon. So it's us two now, eh? Shall we, self-proclaimed fastest man alive? He asked sarcastically as they disappeared, with Berter looking at Naruto, wanting to get him with his speed. As he got closer, he saw Naruto look at him with a smirk, surprising him. He can see me. He was surprised since he was the fastest man alive. Not so fast, are you? Trust me, you're not as fast as you think you are. You're too big to be stealthy with how tall you are. He said. Shut up. I am the fastest man alive and I'll prove it. Berter roared, increasing his speed, but Naruto was matching him pace for pace with the same smirk on his face the whole time. Naruto disappeared from view, making him look around to find him, but was too late as he felt something dig into his flesh on his side in horror, seeing a blue chakra arm that caused him to spit out blood. What? How? He asked in horror, seeing his blood, having not seen him move at all. It's simple. You're too slow. He said each word with a grin, much to his horror. Naruto created another chakra arm that created a small bijou bomb and slammed it into his back, causing an explosion as Naruto jumped back to avoid the attack. When the dust settled, there was a small crater, with bits and pieces of Berta there, but overall nothing was left of him. Berta! Jeez shouted as he and Rekum saw what had happened to their teammate with nothing left of him. And then there were two. He smirked when he saw them shout in anger and rush in blind anger as they threw several punches and kicks hoping to hit him, but he was dodging them. Oh come on. I know my grandma's faster than you and she's in her 50s. He mocked. Aw. Jeez roared in anger, jumping back and shooting ki blasts at him at fast speeds. Naruto didn't do anything as they got closer and caused an explosion to occur. Did that work? Rekum asked, with hope in his voice. I think so. The red-skinned guy said, but he paled when the dust settled to see no injuries on the scion, who was looking at them with a bored expression. Jeez. That was pathetic and weak. Let me show you a real attack. Naruto said as his hands lit up with his ki, which caused a slight burning sensation until two orbs formed in his hands that turned into fireballs. Fire windmill. He shouted as the fireballs he had brought them over his head and threw them at the remaining two members. They weren't able to react fast enough as they collided with them, causing an explosion. Raccoon came out of the smoke looking worse for wear, being littered with injuries, and could see several burn marks from his attack. He was slower though, with his injuries slowing him down. He sent a sloppy punch that Naruto caught before he brought his knee up to his chest, making him gasp in pain before he was sent to the ground as he kicked him in the back of the head with a roundhouse kick. Raccoon was barely conscious and was in tremendous pain when Naruto approached him with his ki blade activated. Any last words, Mr. Elite? He asked, sarcastically. You won't live against Captain and Lord Frieza. He groaned, trying to sit up, but didn't get a chance as Naruto swung his blade down and cut his head off, leaving just Jees left, who managed to see his third teammate die by one man. What are you going to do now, Red? He asked, bringing his ki blade up threateningly. Captain. He wailed/shouted as he flew off to find his leader. He sighed as his ki blade disappeared and looked to see how everyone was doing. Vegeta looked beat and battered. Gohan and Krillin were nearly unconscious, but had several injuries. He was more worried seeing Kale and Caulifla. They were unconscious and were bleeding with several cuts on their bodies and had bruises on them too. He created 3 ki clones to heal Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta to heal them as much as he could. He was personally going to heal his girlfriends as he saw their battered forms, making him worry about their well-beings. How'd you create clones? Vegeta asked, finding the technique interesting. I might tell you about it some other time, but for now let him do his job and heal you a bit. He told the prince when he looked up and saw a ship landing. Goku. Krillin said weakly. Daddy. Gohan muttered happily, wincing in pain. Kakarot. Vegeta growled, recognizing the ki energy. Oh girls. I'm sorry I couldn't keep you safe. He whispered to them even if they were unconscious. I know you can take care of yourselves, but I want you both to rest and to be safe. He said to them as he continued healing them. They'll be okay, Naruto-kun. You did what you could and you made that Jees and Raccoon guy pay for what they did to them and the others. Matatabi said, trying to put his mind at ease. I know, but I should have ended it quicker, so I could be here sooner. I let my scion instincts take control to fight them and to see what they could do, when I should have ended it quickly, like a shinobi would've. He reprimanded himself. It's true you should have ended it sooner, but that doesn't matter anymore. They're safe and you'll be there for them. You need to remember also that you're more than a scion, that you're a shinobi as well. Use what you have and what you've learned. You haven't used your swords in a long time or any other arts except for ninjutsu. She lectured, making him sigh and nod. I understand, sis. And thank you. He smiled, which she returned even if he wasn't in his mindscape to see it. Naruto had just finished healing what he could, and the girls along with everyone were looking much better, but the girls were still out. Naruto looked to see Goku land near them and waved him over happily to see his friends, since they'll need the extra help right now. Daddy! Gohan said in happiness. Goku! Krillin said in glee. Kakarot! Vegeta growled, not liking how he's here when he's got to deal with Naruto already. I forgot he has 2 names. It's good to see you, my friend, and you made it just in time. He said. Glad I was able to make it on time too. You guys look like you got roughed up a bit, but I got some senzu beans that'll help. Goku said, pulling out a small brown bag that held them in. He pulled 5 out and gave 2 to Naruto, so he could give it to Caulifla and Kale. Because they were unconscious, he had to give it a different way, so they wouldn't choke on them. He put each in his mouth one at a time, chewing it before he kissed each of them to pass it to them. It worked wonders because their eyes fluttered open and had smiles in Kale's case and grin in Caulifla's. Well, that's one way to wake someone up, handsome. She said cheekily. Thank you, Naruto. Kale said shyly with a blush on her face. How are you 2 feeling? He asked them. They both frowned before they left his eyes, not able to look at him. We didn't beat him, even after all our training we had done with you, it was still useless. I was sure we could take him, but he ended up toying with us before he knocked us out. And you beat him and the others like it was nothing. Caulifla said, downcast at her defeat and her weakness. Naruto could feel for them, having known what that was like when he was a shinobi. He may have been a prodigy, but he was still weak compared to others. It's fine, babe. You did really well against him, and I couldn't be more proud of you too. He smiled at his girlfriends, which got a smile/grin from them. Look at you being sweet and all to us like this. Thanks, handsome. Caulifla said with a real smile and not a usual grin she'd give. Kale was smiling at Naruto for his encouraging words. She really was lucky to have him in her life and to have met him. Goku, how many senzu beans do you have left after giving them each one? Naruto asked. I have 1 more. Why do you ask? The orange-clad scion asked. Just wanting to see what we have left, seeing how it's just down to 3 people left to deal with and we'll need it. Naruto said, referring to Frieza and his second in command. Right. You should hold on to the bag. I almost lost the bag once or twice on my way here, and I know you wouldn't lose it. Goku said, sheepishly rubbing his head when he saw the deadpanning looks from them and a chuckle escaping Naruto's mouth, expecting that. Sure. I can even put them in a seal on my arm to keep them safe. Give me a minute. He told them as he quickly brought some ink out, confusing Vegeta on what he's doing, having no idea what he's doing. He finished writing the storage seal, before he pressed his fingers into it and went through a single hand sign, creating a puff of smoke. When the smoke died down, the bag of senzu beans were gone and the seal that he wrote was glowing blue, further confusing the prince. Okay, what the hell was that? Is someone going to explain to me what's going on here? Vegeta yelled out in frustration at not knowing what's going on. It's a skill I learned called Fuinjutsu. What you saw was something called a storage seal that allows me to store things in them no matter how big it is. It can be a person or energy itself. It's something that takes years to master. It wouldn't suit your style anyway. He shrugged at him, nodding, knowing how true that is. What are we going to do now? Jis is sure to come back with Ginyu and perhaps even Frieza's second in command. If that's the case, then we should prepare for them, since whoever he is won't be easy to beat. The prince said, getting nods from everyone, understanding how serious it could be. Let me handle him then. I wonder who it is though, if no one except Frieza knows who the second in command is. It makes you wonder though, don't you think? He questioned, making everyone else wonder, but none more than Vegeta, since he's been wanting to find out for years. We wait for them to come back and see what they do. It would be better that way, so we can plan better on what to do. Gohan suggested, with everyone agreeing, even Vegeta, who was begrudgingly going along with it as he was having thoughts. How? How did he get so strong where this unknown scion can even destroy the Ginyu Force where Prince Vegeta failed? Impossible. I refuse to believe it. And Kakarot, I can feel, is hiding some absurd power as well when he was nowhere near this level when we fought on Earth. It shouldn't be possible. They can't possibly be the legendary Super Saiyans. He screamed in his mind, outraged at what he had seen and could sense from them. It was at that moment that they all felt a huge amount of power coming from the east, making them all slightly nervous except for Naruto, who narrowed his eyes in the direction. What the hell was that? Krillin asked, shaking at what he felt. I think it's safe to say that it was Frieza throwing a hissy fit. I think I know what it was. Naruto grinned, seeing his girls, and even Vegeta laughed at the insult. What was it then? Goku asked, confused. Think about it, Ginyu flew off in the same direction where the power surge came from, and he had all the Dragon Balls, right? He asked, nodding. He continued. Then that must mean that he can't get them to work. Dumbass thought he could just use them with ease, thinking that the Namekians wouldn't have some way to protect them from being used by people like him if they ever were collected. He laughed, as did the others, smile/laugh, realizing what he was getting at. I gotta admit, you aren't so bad if you can insult Frieza like this. You really are a Saiyan at heart. Vegeta commented with a nod, respecting Naruto a little more. I'm going to go check on Bulma and make sure she's alright. Caulifla, Kale, stay here and help them when they arrive. Naruto said as they looked at one another for a bit, before looking back at him, nodding as he nodded back before flying off towards the cave that they were hiding at. Earlier with Frieza, Ginyu had returned with the Dragon Balls, and Frieza was really excited about getting his wish granted finally. When he tried to use them, he had no idea that they required a password to use, which upsetted the tyrant since he needed a Namekian alive to get the information he wanted. What do I do now? I killed them all. There's no one left to tell. I've lost my wish. Frieza roared in anger, unconsciously releasing his power. There may be a few surviving Namekians out there, let's check with our scouters and check for any that are still alive. Frieza's second-in-command suggested, sounding feminine despite wearing a cloak. They did as instructed, and it didn't take long to find signatures. Well, look at that, 3 in that direction. Good work. Frieza praised as he got in his pod and took off toward the remaining Namekians. What do we do now while we wait for Lord Frieza to come back with the password? She asked Ginyu. I'll just work on different poses to improve for my squad. He said. She nodded as he began thinking of different poses that they could work on. As they were waiting, they heard the sound of someone approaching them and looked to see not Frieza, but Jis, who was moving at his fastest and seemed to be upset about something. Captain. Jis landed and ran up to Ginyu and started explaining, or well trying, but neither could understand what he was saying with how he was rambling and panicking the whole time. After having enough of his useless ramblings, she walked up to him and slapped him across the face, which got him to shut up as he looked at her with a glare. Now, get it together and explain it again. We could hardly understand what you were saying, and nothing we said could get you to realize that. She said with a shrug, not caring that she had slapped him. Jis went on to explain how they were fighting the group and had beaten everyone except for Naruto, who Berta had started fighting, but it didn't take long for him to kill Berta. He along with Rekum decided to fight him together, but it made little difference as he picked them apart until he killed Rekum, leaving Jis to leave to where he was now. This surprised the two, but Ginyu quickly got angry that nearly his whole squad was killed off by one person who was a scion of all things. The second-in-command was more curious than upset, since there weren't many people who could fight the Ginyu Force and kill them for that matter. She never really liked them anyhow with their ridiculous poses and dances they did. I'm going to kill that monkey as no one messes with the Ginyu Force. Ginyu yelled in complete anger and was about to fly off, but he was grabbed on the shoulder, stopping him. He turned around to see it was her that was stopping him. Why don't you let me fight him? We don't know how strong he is, and if he was able to defeat your team so easily, then I'd say he could be around your level at the least, and if we're to get revenge for your teammates, we need someone who will have a higher power level than you, and it would be a waste for Lord Frieza to deal with him, leaving him to me. Besides, there's also Prince Vegeta, the other Scions, and the Earthlings that are still there, right? You guys should handle them. She explained, getting a growl at having his revenge taken, but he thought about it and was probably the best thing to do. Fine, But you better kill him, otherwise he could be a problem if he's as strong as he's been made out to be. Ginyu said, before he looked at Jis. What was his power level when you fought him? He wanted to know. It was 90,000 and he wasn't even trying still at that point. Jis answered with Ginyu narrowing his eyes before he looked at her. Alright, he's yours to handle. He said, accepting her proposal as they took off to go to Goku and the others, leaving her to find Naruto. Hopefully you're strong, as I've been itching to fight someone for a long time since not many can push me to my limits. She laughed and was looking forward to fighting him. Let's see where you're at. She said, using her scouter to find him. It didn't take long to do that, as he had a very high power level that was even higher than she was told, making her that much more excited. Oh, this'll be the fight I've been waiting for. She smirked before flying off at incredible speeds. Naruto was flying towards Bulma, wanting to give her an update as he told her that he was on his way to check on her. Yes, he could have talked to her telepathically, but he also wanted to see her. He was moving at a decent pace, when he stopped all of a sudden, sensing someone heading towards him, so he decided to wait for whoever it was to show up. It didn't take long for whoever it was to show up, and when that person did, he was shocked at what he was seeing. It was a woman of below average height. She had shaggy black hair that went to her shoulders, onyx eyes, and was wearing the traditional Frieza armor. She was beautiful, but what really got his attention was what was around her waist. A tail. A tail. A scion. I never expected to see any more, but apparently Frieza sucks at genocide if there are this many surviving scions. He commented. You won't speak of Lord Frieza with such disrespect. He's the strongest in the universe and will get his wish for immortality. She said with conviction. So you're working with that bitch, huh? How could you willingly work for someone that destroyed the scions by destroying planet Vegeta? He growled in disgust. I don't have to answer your questions, but I will admit you have an impressive amount of power on you and I would like to test it for myself. She smirked. Before we get started, why don't we introduce ourselves? He asked, when he saw her narrow her eyes in question. And before you say anything, no, it's nothing like those idiot Ginyu Force members. That shit was stupid. He answered as she nodded. Thank God. I hate their poses. She said, before clearing her throat. Well, I'm Jin, second in command of the Frieza Force. She introduced herself. Naruto Uzumaki. Jinchuriki and former shinobi. He followed suit. She raised an eyebrow at the terms. Jinchuriki and shinobi. That's unusual for a scion, having never heard of those before. Both charged at each other, clashing their fists together, which created a mini shockwave, trying to outdo the other in raw power. Naruto was able to push her back before he punched her in the stomach, but she blocked it with her knee, sending her own punch to his chest, but he caught her fist. They continued trading blows, trying to outdo the other, but they were even. They were locked in a grip lock as they tried to push the other back, but neither were moving, proving to be a challenge for each other. Naruto brought his knee up hoping to hit her chin, but she let go, avoiding the hit as she started throwing ki blasts at him. He saw this and matched her with his own ki blasts. They both were taking damage as the ki blasts continued being sent out at great speeds, pushing them further until Naruto roared, destroying the incoming ki blasts. When the smoke settled, both could be seen having some injuries and were panting a little from the damage done, but both were looking alright mostly. Both had huge grins on their faces, though, showing that they were enjoying the fight. Now this is what I've been missing. I think it's time though that we kick up a notch, don't you think? She asked, her grin to widen, making him do the same, just as excited as she was. I do believe so. Let's see what you got. He said as he started raising his power along with Jin. Ah! They shouted as the ground started shaking, cracks were beginning to form under them. Their auras were flaring to life, with Naruto's being his typical blue/silver and Jin's was blue but darker in color. Her scouter was going off and she was in awe at the amount of power that she was feeling and the readings she was getting. His power had reached 200,000 and it was still going. She could think about it anymore. Her scouter broke, making her flinch slightly from the explosion. They flared their auras one last time, causing a bright light to be seen from miles away. When the light died down you could easily feel the power rolling off of them in waves that would make Vegeta seethe in jealousy. Jin had her dark blue aura that was flowing off her and Naruto was covered in his blue/silver aura. What do you think? This is my full power. Jin declared loudly in pride at how far she'd come in working under her boss. I have to say I'm impressed. But let's see how you put it to use. Naruto finished, vanishing from his spot. She dodged as a kick to the head appeared. Jin responded by kicking him in the chin that connected, sending him in the air. Wanting to capitalize on it, she flew off at him, elbowing him in the back of the head which sent him crashing into the ground. He shook off the blow as he decided to take her more seriously. He activated his Rinna Sharingan, surprising her with his eyes changing like that, having never seen anything like it before, similar to how Caulifla and Kale reacted the first time. What's up with your eyes? What did you do, I wonder? No matter, they won't help against me. She declared, vanishing from her spot as she seemed to have disappeared, but due to Naruto's eyes he was able to keep track of her. She tried punching him in the face, but he surprisingly blocked with his forearm, making her eyes go wide. She tried again with a kick to his side, but he again caught her leg with his arm. He spun her around before he threw her into a mountain and blasted her with a ki blast that created an explosion. She flew out of the smoke with Naruto meeting her halfway as they continued attacking each other, exchanging different blows with kicks and punches, but Naruto had a slight advantage due to his Rinna Sharingan helping tracking her movements, something she noticed and was starting to piss her off. Okay, what the hell are those eyes? They clearly are making it easier for you to see me. What are they? She demanded rather angrily. Not seeing harm in telling her, he shrugged his shoulders. They're called the Rinna Sharingan and, like you mentioned, can help me track your movements and even predict where you're going. I don't rely on them though. Only use them as a last resort. He explained when he did two hand signs. Water style, water dragon's jutsu. He declared as from the lake nearby with her, not expecting a dragon made out of water with glowing yellow eyes. It roared and charged at her with her caught off guard in awe at seeing the water dragon as it slammed down into her. Naruto immediately dodged a ki blast and looked to see her holding her arm as it was bleeding slightly. He took advantage of her state and brought his hands together, forming a familiar blue orb. Kamehameha, he said as the blast headed straight towards her. With no choice, she brought her one good arm to shield herself, hoping to lessen the blast as it impacted on her, causing a massive explosion. When everything settled down, he could see her form was on the ground face down unconscious. He breathed a sigh of relief as he deactivated his Rinna Sharingan and approached Jin. Still cautious in case she tried something, he crouched down and pressed his two fingers on her neck to check for a pulse, and she was still alive. As he was looking at her prone form, he saw something on the back of her neck that was strange. It looked to be some chip that seemed to be put on her. He'd take her to Bulma since she's better with their technology than he was. Naruto picked her up bridal style and continued his journey towards Bulma to check on her and now have her look at the chip. It was an hour later when he had made it to the cave that she was at. He was glad that she was here as she wouldn't know what to do with Jin. Bulma? Are you here? He asked when she walked out of the house. Naruto? Who's that and what are you doing with her? She asked, noticing he was carrying an unconscious woman. She's a scion like me who was working for Frieza, but that's not why she's here. I noticed something on the back of her neck and would like you to check it out because I don't know what it is. He quickly explained as she nodded, but was now curious about their new guest. Do you know her name? Also set her on the couch here, so I can take a look. She led them to the living room where he could set her down. Her name is Jin. I'll lay her on her side so you can get a look at the chip. He said, doing what she suggested, and put her on her side and held her there, so Bulma could get a good look at it. Bulma was getting a look at it and coming up with different ideas as to what it could be, but first thing first was she needed to remove it, since obviously it was hidden for a reason. She got some pincers out that would be small enough to grab it, and it wasn't hard to pull off, but it did make Jin fidget a bit from the pull. I'll have to study this in depth if I'm going to figure out everything about this thing, since I have no idea what it was, but based on where it was hidden, it was placed there by Frieza if I had to guess. Bulma explained. Thanks babe. While you work on that, I'll give you an update on what's been going on lately. He said, when he heard a groan coming from Jine, who was stirring and looking to be waking up. Where am I? She asked groggily. Easy there. You're in our capsule house that I took you to after our fight. Naruto said. Fight? I don't remember fighting you or anyone for that matter, but my body hurts a lot though. Who are you exactly? Jine asked, confused about what was going on. She had no idea what was happening and who this person was. Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki is my name and I'm a scion like you. Do you remember anything if you don't remember fighting me? He asked, having an idea of what could have happened. Well, I was in my house cooking dinner when some of Frieza's soldiers barged in and told me that I was needed for an experiment, but I said no and tried to fight back when they attacked me, but I hadn't fought in a long time, so I was knocked out quickly. After that, I don't remember anything, she explained, confusion and anger on her face. That bastard. Naruto growled, pissed off that Frieza had her practically as a slave as he put her through mind control. What is it? She asked. Sit down. You should get comfortable. This may take a while to explain everything that's happened. He said, confusing her, but she did as told and listened as he had explained what had happened and what had been going on for over the years. How Frieza put her through mind control, forcing her to serve him for years, the destruction of planet Vegeta, how there were only a small handful of scions left, and the fight they just had. It was so much for her to take in. Her home was gone. What about her husband and son? Are they okay and safe? Who was this scion that had rescued her from her slavery? She'd never seen a scion that had red tips in his hair before. It was really strange, but she had to admit he did make him look unique, and with those whisker marks are different too. I know it's a lot to take in, but you're free now to do whatever you want to do. He said, hoping to cheer her up in some way. Everyone I knew is gone. What about my son and husband, do you know if they're all right or alive for that matter? She asked quietly, with her voice cracking a little at the revelations. I don't know. Who are your husband and son? Do you remember their names? He asked. She was thinking about it, but only the name of her husband was coming to mind, but not her son's name, making her frustrated at not being able to remember it. My husband's name was Bardock, but I can't remember my son's name. She said, sadness in her voice. Vegeta might know since he's aware of all the survivors, but we'd have to talk to him about it after we deal with Frieza. He said as Bulma walked back in. Glad to see our guest is awake. How are you feeling? She asked, but saw Naruto wince, raising an eyebrow in curiosity. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about everything I've been told. Can I get a few minutes to myself? She asked, wanting to be alone right now. Yeah, we'll give you some space, but before that here. He handed her a senzu bean. Eat this, it'll help you recover quickly. He smiled at her, who nodded and did as told. But what about your injuries? Bulma asked when they walked away. I'm healed already thanks to Matatabi and her chakra along with my Uzumaki genes. Both go a long way. He told her. Do you think she'll be okay? She just found out that she's been practically a slave for Frieza all this time and has lost everything. I'd be pretty upset if I was in her shoes. Bulma frowned at the thought. I think so. If my hunch is right, then she'll have someone that can help her. He smiled at the thought. What do you mean? The blue-haired scientist asked, confusedly. It's not a lot, but it's there. There's some resemblance between her and an orange GI wearing scion we both know. He grinned, knowing that Goku had some family still. What? She whispered loudly, not wanting to scare Jine. It's not much, but I have a feeling that is his mother. I just know it, and I'm sure Goku will be happy to know that his mother is alive. He smiled at the thought of them reuniting. It would be a nice moment for the two. True, but what do we do now? You guys still have Frieza to deal with, right? Bulma asked nervously, knowing that the tyrant will be hard to handle. We make him pay for what he did to me along with my home. Jine said, walking and having heard the question asked. Very true. He'll pay for everything he's done to the Namex, Planet Vegeta, and others that he's made suff. Naruto stopped when he and Ginyu felt the energy spike, causing them to stiffen. Frieza? Bulma asked, seeing this. They nodded as they prepared to take off when Bulma grabbed his wrist, getting his attention, and kissed him on the lips. Good luck, she said. He nodded as she watched him and Ginyu fly off. Ready for some payback? He grinned when she grinned back with a nod. Oh, I'm more than ready. I have some anger I need to get out, and punching Frieza is exactly what I need. Well, let's go. The fighting seems to have started and we need to hurry and help the others. Naruto told her as she nodded, and they flew faster. They got there and Frieza looked completely different from before. He was much taller, that was obvious. His head was much longer now, his shoulders had straightened out, he had 5 spikes coming out of his back, and seemed to be missing a piece of his tail. Overall he looked terrifying, but this didn't deter them from fighting him. Getting a good look at everyone, Gohan and Krillin looked okay for the most part, but were terrified. Vegeta was the same, but he could see he was plotting something. Caulifla and Kale had worried expressions on their faces too, seeing what was going on. Dend was there for some reason along with another Namekian who must have been Piccolo, and he could sense he was much stronger than before. The one thing that was bothering him though was, where the hell was Goku at? He'd have to ask the others about it, but for now they'd see what was going on before jumping in. He looks like a disgusting bastard. I thought he was ugly before, but now he just looks horrendous, Naruto said with Ginyu giggling at the comment. I know. Are these your friends you mentioned that were with you? She asked. He nodded, confirming her question. They are, well, most of them, as my girlfriends are with them too. Not sure where me and Vegeta stand at this point. He shrugged, not sure, as he continued to stare at the tyrant. Let's see what Frieza can do in this form. Although, I wasn't aware that he could transform, that doesn't mean shit. He commented with determination. I see. Was all she said. They waited, and it didn't take long for the action to start again. Piccolo had impressive speed, being able to counter Frieza's power, able to avoid him, but it was not long for Frieza to outspeed him, and not only that, Frieza was playing with him the whole time. He shot off several beams from his fingers with Piccolo not able to dodge them and couldn't do anything against the attacks. This was the time for Naruto and Ginyu to make their move. They nodded at each other before vanishing from their spot as Frieza was all of a sudden sent flying away from Piccolo, where Ginyu appeared where he was heading and kicked him in the back of the head, sending him crashing into the ground. What the? Krillin asked, having seen the whole thing along with Vegeta. Seems we made it just in time. A familiar voice said, getting their attention. They turned to see Naruto there with a smirk on his face. You idiot. We were dead already and now you'll be joining us. Vegeta yelled at him, but saw Ginyu and was surprised at seeing another Saiyan. Who is she? He asked. Hello. You must be Prince Vegeta. I'm Ginyu, and unfortunately I've been working with Frieza as her second in command apparently. Ginyu said, making him tense. What? He shouted in disbelief. Yeah. Although, it wasn't her choice though. Frieza was using technology to have her under his control. She had no free will, so don't blame her for what happened when she wasn't there herself. Naruto said, making it clear to him not to try something against her. Frieza jumped out of the ground with annoyance on him. Yo, up here. Naruto called out, causing him to look up to see Naruto and his second in command with him, who had an angry expression on her face. Ginyu. What is the meaning of this? Frieza yelled in anger, seeing her betray him. I dare, because of what you did to me. You took me away and put me under mind control for years. It was thanks to Naruto that I'm free from you. Ginyu yelled at her former boss, who growled at the loss of someone, but smirked. Oh, so you know, huh? Well, I had to do something since nothing else would work to make you submit to me. Oh well, it's not much of a loss, but I will make that monkey pay for ruining my plans. He said as a snarl appeared on his face, glaring at Naruto. Frieza appeared in front of Naruto, punching him in the chest, sending him away, but wasn't done as he flew after him, but Ginyu got in the way, wanting payback as she uppercut him in the stomach, that made him spit out saliva, but wasn't done yet as she kneed him face, breaking his nose in the process that gave off a crunch sound. Frieza reacted by jumping back with an annoyed expression before he held out his finger and started shooting ki beams, hoping to kill her. She was dodging them, but with some difficulty, but wasn't deterred. She made her way towards him while dodging them until she was close enough where she shot out her own ki blasts. Frieza was doing the same, realizing that his beams weren't working. This caused massive explosions with their blasts hitting each other, making the ground shake from the tremor. Jin vanished from her spot before she reappeared behind Frieza, bringing her hands together and sending them to his head, but he turned around and blocked it with his arms crossed over his head, but his feet went further into the ground from the impact. Jin felt her ankle get grabbed. Glancing down she saw that his tail had latched onto it. He smirked before he flung her away from him into the ground, but didn't stop as he continued to slam her around on the ground, making her wince in pain. She was able to form a small ki orb in her hand and tried slamming it on his tail, but he let go, giving her the chance to backflip away from him, giving her a chance to breathe a little. She regained her composure and vanished along with Frieza, meeting in the middle with their fists meeting as they attempted to overpower the other. Jin, realizing that they weren't moving, she went for a roundhouse kick, forcing him to let go, but was too late as it connected with his ribs, pushing him back. She didn't give him a chance to react as she appeared in front of him with her hands apart as a pink basketball-sized orb appeared. Mother Nature. She let loose the attack at point-blank range at the tyrant, who cried as the attack hit him, causing an explosion in the area, forcing Krillin, Gohan and Den to hold on to something to avoid flying off. Piccolo, Caulifla and Kale kept themselves on the ground with them planting their feet. Vegeta was gritting his teeth in anger at seeing someone take on Frieza when he couldn't. He needed to get his plan into action involving the Kid Namekian, so he could become the legendary Super Saiyan. Jin waited for the smoke to clear, still having her guard up, and was proved right as Frieza was still alive, but had some injuries on him, nothing extreme though. Naruto landed next to her with a serious look on his face. Looks like you did a number on him. Although he looks more pissed off than actually hurt. You're good. He praised, making her give a small smile, but then had a serious look. It doesn't look like I did much on him. He must be hiding something despite all that had happened. She said with him nodding in agreement. You worms. I will not be beaten by mere monkeys. I am Lord Frieza, the Emperor of the Universe. He roared in complete anger at the embarrassment he's been put through so far. He took a deep breath before he started chuckling and turned into laughing, putting everyone on edge, not knowing what's going on, but they had a bad feeling about it. Oh ho ho, before you get too excited, let's move on to my final transformation and then you can see what terror will really be like. Frieza said, getting looks of horror from Gohan, Krillin, Den, Caulifla, Kale, and Piccolo, while Jin and Naruto were expecting this already. Vegeta was looking at Den then to Krillin with a smirk as he flew over to him to tell him about his plan. Hiya! Frieza yelled as his aura and power skyrocketed with his body being enveloped in a light. What do we do, Piccolo? Gohan asked, frightened at what he was seeing. There's absolutely nothing we can do against this kind of power, but Naruto and his friends seem to not be as affected as us. Piccolo said, looking over at the two Saiyans. They're crazy if they're not worried like we are. Krillin shouted in disbelief. We haven't seen all that Naruto is capable of. I never have once seen him go all out, so this could be the reason why he's not worried. Caulifla said in thought. I wonder, she thought to herself, wondering what her boyfriend is up to. Baldy, I need you for something. Vegeta called out, getting his attention. That part goes as canon with Krillin nearly killing Vegeta. As Naruto and Jin were watching Frieza finish his transformation, Vegeta landed right next to them with a smirk on his face, ready for action. What took you so long? Naruto smirked at the prince, who smirked back at him. I was being healed by the Namekian, so I can fight Frieza. I'm going to fight him, so don't get in my way. Vegeta ordered, watching the transformation still, not noticing that Frieza set his sights on Den. No, I owe him for what he did to me, so I'll be fighting him with you. Don't even try to change my mind, as it's final. She argued, her tone spoke with conviction that no one could argue against. Fine. Just don't get in my way. The prince said, letting her fight him too, as she did have the right after being enslaved for years by him. The light faded with him finishing his transformation as the dust was clouding everyone's vision. The dust finally settled, revealing Frieza, but again he looked completely different than before. He was smaller, the same size of his first form. His body was entirely covered in white armor with purple orbs on his shoulders and abs. His expression was stoic as he held out his finger, firing off a beam that no one saw, not expecting it. It flew past everyone and an explosion occurred. It hit someone. They all turned around to see it was Den that was hit. Den! Gohan and Krillin shouted, seeing their friend die. Now then, no one will be healing you anymore from this point on. Frieza smirked cruelly with an evil grin. The end. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye bye.